your MBA program is consistently ranked among the very best in the world. Surely you can sit back on your laurels, you don't really need to change anything, but that isn't the case at London Business School. That continues to evolve. And for Centre Court, I'm delighted to welcome Helen Foley. Helen is the MBA Program Director at LBS. Helen, it's lovely to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Matt. Thanks for asking me.
You know the school, of course, very well, and then the role that you now have overseeing that MBA program. But perhaps we can start with LBS. It's known all around the world, but just a little bit about how the broader institution, its mission, its values, its location in the world, really sort of shapes the MBA experience.
Yeah, of course. I'm very happy to talk about it. I mean, London Business School has a belief that we exist in order to have a profound impact on the way the world does business and how business impacts the world. And when a student joins our MBA, there are a multitude of ways in which this is seen. But I think it can really be broadly summarized by the three pillars that we follow at LBS. The first being that we strongly believe in the power of rigorous and original thinking. So it's not just about what we learn. It's pretty much always about how we learn and why we learn that really drives the growth and improvement. And this really underpins everything we do, right from the first step that our MBA students take into the classroom in August at orientation. We focus on curiosity and the how and the why to drive what our students are going to learn over the next 2 years. And our students form part of the key second pillar that underpins what we do, as they're part of our global community. Now, global is a word that's kind of quite easy to bandy around. It's not just something that we believe in. It is something that we live day to day at LBS. And in my now over 15 years of being at LBS, it's the global atmosphere and community that still makes me want to come to work every day and to experience that vibrancy and that diversity. Our MBA first year class this year has 67 different nationalities out of the 500 students that we have. And that's normal. That's what a typical MBA class will look like. So when we have that and our global business experiences, our language program, our international exchange program, we have a real drive to keep global at the top of everything we do. The last pillar that we sit beside is kind of a contradiction to this, in that we truly have London at the heart of our MBA. But it's really not a contradiction, because anybody who knows London knows that it's international pulse. It's the passion for the global is what really makes it such an amazing place to live, to work, to study. And it's not just that we have an amazing campus beside Regent's Park, or that we're a stone's throw from the city. We do strive to embed London into our program experience as well. There are multiple ways that we do this. We have a London CAP project in year one, where students can work with real businesses based in and around London, or when we partner with the Walpole program, where our students have access to the CEOs and heads of some of Britain's iconic luxury brands. So it's not just that we're in London, we really try to live it and embed it in everything that we do. So those three pillars are kind of encompass everything. There's lots more elements to them, but they're what drives us to always try and be the best at what we do.
Right, and certainly one of the most elegant campus buildings, but it continues to expand across the road, and a wonderful incubator that you've built. No, it's a tremendous place, and as travel restrictions lift, I hope that our viewers at Centre Court, if they have the chance to spend time on the campus, really will seize that opportunity. So as we look at the program, many European business schools had looked at a one-year sort of shorter MBA format. LBS has the 2-year format, but even there, this ability to sort of personalize your experience, that there are different sort of course durations that are possible. So talk a little bit about perhaps the fundamentals of the curriculum, and then perhaps through electives and the second half, you can really then sort of shape the look and feel of the MBA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key advantages of our MBA is the 2-year program, because it provides us with the opportunity to have mandatory aspects that all students will do, but also plenty of time for choice and for opportunity without having to compromise on either side, really, much more so than a 1-year program just really has the opportunity to do, simply because of the length. In terms of the course structure, it's a bit of an understatement probably to say that term one's quite busy for the MBAs. So although it's a 2-year program, we still have a lot that we want to fit in. We know a student is going to do this once in their life. This is not something that you're going to do more than once. So we really want to make sure that we're providing as many opportunities as possible. But we do start off with our business fundamentals courses at the very start of year one. And this is probably what you would expect to see in any solid foundation on an MBA program. We'll be covering finance, accounting, strategy, economics, business ethics, all of the kind of what you would expect to see on a brochure for an MBA program. But it's not always about, as I said before, the what of learning. Even students who have studied bits of finance or accounting in the past, possibly, they haven't done so in the LBS classroom. And that diversity, that global diversity of the classroom, the faculty expertise really provides for a very different learning environment for what might be typically viewed as fairly typical business school subjects. There is challenge for every single student. We have students from a whole range of backgrounds, some with expert finance, some with expert strategy. We won't have anybody who has everything. So they can really all learn from each other. And we use that classroom experience to use everybody's benefit and everybody's experiences and skills for the benefit of the rest of the class as well. Term two, so right after the Christmas period, we kick off into tailoring students' programs. So term one is fairly set in terms of what students will take, but from term two through to term 6 of the MBA, students really get to choose which courses they're going to take, which ones interest them, which ones are something they might like to pursue further, which ones complement the career path that they have in mind. And this starts off in year one with our tailored core program. So this is a program of 16 courses exclusively designed for MBA students to really focus on both what MBA students want and need, but also what the market, the employment market, is telling us that students should be equipped for. And that's both for summer internships and then looking further ahead to their post-study employments as well. So on these 16 tailored core courses, we've got, again, some big hitters. Finance 2, Business Analytics, Digital Strategy are very, very popular tailored core courses, but we also provide smaller courses where the demand may not be so high, but the interest is certainly still there. For example, value chain management or information in the modern economy. Students then also get to start to access our elective portfolio, which is seemingly ever growing and ever impressive in terms of we have more than 100 different electives on the elective portfolio now. And from this point onwards, this is really about what the students want to do. Now, we do guide them, we provide signposting, we'll use our experience and expertise to help students understand the options open to them. But this is really what the students come here for, to make their own path, to make their own individual choices about what they need and what they want to learn to develop. We've had a big year on electives this year at LBS. We launched 13 new electives to the portfolio, as well as adding new streams of our already very popular electives. Some of the highlights this year that we're getting excellent feedback on are our crisis leadership and human behaviour elective, as well as the economics of a crisis. So these 2 new electives were added this year. Clearly, the pandemic has had a profound impact on the world, and that includes the world of business. So these courses have been developed by our organisational behaviour and our economics faculty to really use some of the learnings of the pandemic to turn these into tools that our students can learn from and develop so that in the future they will have even greater impact on what they go on to do. We're also adding electives across the innovation sphere as well, with innovation and technology strategy and innovation to market, again, recognising the growing demand that there is in this area. But as I say, there's more than 100 different electives. I would be here all day to talk through each of them, but these are just an example of some of the new innovations that we've made in the portfolio to really keep it vibrant and live for the students.
You mentioned earlier, Helen, that the word global is often even overused. but how it really applies, bringing in 68 nationalities to the incoming class, and then London is the sort of the hub that's looking out at the rest of the world. Are there key differentiators? Our viewers are looking at the world's top business schools and why London Business School might be a particularly good fit for them. I'd love to sit in on the classes of Linda Grattan. I think she's just writing her 11th or 12th book that's about to come up, but particular courses that you feel really capture that curiosity and academic mindset.
So if I speak personally on what I feel is interesting, I'm very interested in organizational behavior. That's kind of that piques my interest. And we've got a diversity science elective, which has been introduced this year, which is really looking at how we can bring the diversity of the classroom, looking at disparities that we all face in the world and that our students are going to have to face, to understand how the growth mindset is what our future leaders will really need in order to be able to be more successful when they go out there. And that's not just global diversity, that's looking at the diversity of people's backgrounds, of their experience, where they've come from, where they want to go to as well, and bringing together all of those different strands to really look at, well, what does it mean to be a successful leader in the future? So that's kind of one of the key differentiator electives. I think something I'd also come back to, and I think I mentioned it at the beginning, is our London CAP course, which is part of our tailored core program rather than our elective portfolio. But we work with businesses based in or around London to provide real world project opportunities for our first year MBA students. They work in groups of 4 or 5 students over about a 10-week period to tackle a real business challenge set by that company. It's supported by faculty supervision, skill sessions, seminars, etc. We had 41 different projects last year across a whole range of sectors: fashion, fintech, luxury, travel. And we had 13 courses that were focused on environmental, social, and governance, which is an area that we're really seeing there being both an increased need for and an increased demand for as well. It's a very, very popular tailored core. One of my favorites this last year was that we partnered with Mindful Chef, that I think many people will be familiar with now, any of the foodies out there, where our London CAP team was tasked by Mindful Chef to look at their international expansion opportunities, to be really involved in the direct decision making of a relatively new company. It was only founded 6 or 7 years ago, I think. And that experience was just overwhelmingly positive, both, I'm pleased to say, for the company as well as for our students, to get that direct, real experience into what it means to be working with an up and coming company.
With so many different options, more than 100 electives and everything else that you've shared, whether doing the full 21 months over those 6 terms or the accelerated in 15 or 18 months, how do you then accompany students? Because sometimes we can almost become paralyzed by choice. There are so many things. How do you sort of work with them, guide them in the different choices that they're making?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's one of the first things we say at orientation to students is, you think you have 2 years, and you do, but the choices are going to be multiple. And the FOMO is real. I hear from the students that it's just, everybody wants to do everything all of the time. We have a couple of different ways in which we do that. You may be aware that we have what we currently call elective concentrations as part of the programme. So elective concentrations allow students to give a defined focus to a particular area of study. Some of these are very subject area based, so a finance concentration, economics concentration, and some of them straddle across different subject areas, so change management, tech and analytics. And these allow students to choose from a smaller set of courses if they want to specialise or to focus in that area. And what we have found is that this has 2 key values. One is I can write this on my CV, I can write this on LinkedIn, I have a specialisation in private equity. And there's data that shows that this can support students who are wanting to move into a particular sector if they choose courses that fit within this concentration. The other value that the concentrations bring is more around helping students structure their electives. I have seen some amazingly comprehensive spreadsheets that students put together, mapping out their full 2 years and different bits pulled in different ways. And they use the concentrations to say, right, well, this is something I'm interested in, or is this a path I want to take? Then here are some of the different options that there are out there. And they work pretty well, the concentrations, but we do think that we can do better in this area as well. So one of the projects that we're currently working on is developing student navigational journeys. So these will look more broadly than just the academics. Our concentrations are focused on our academic courses. The navigational journeys will include concentrations, but they'll look more broadly at, well, which career track should I be going on? Which student clubs should I be joining? Which speaker series events are there that I really need to make sure and get registered for, as soon as it gets advertised, to give what we're hoping is a much more holistic and supportive hand-holding, signposting, whatever you want to call it, to students throughout this. So we've identified 3 initial navigational journeys in social impact, tech and analytics, and innovation. And those are currently under development, ready for launch next year. But we expect there will be many more. We will listen to what student demand is, again, what recruiter demand is, what the areas of interest are, as well as what our own faculty expertise and research is focusing on, so that we can really make the choices as easy as possible. It's not going to be easy. There's never the possibility of doing everything. But if we can provide better signposting to our students, then we think that that will be an even more beneficial aspect of their programme.
I'm always impressed that more than 100,000 tickets for the Glastonbury Festival sell out in about 20 minutes. But imagine in the LBS classroom, there's a text alert for a new course on offer, and everyone has to hurry to put their name down for it. I mean,
Absolutely.
Thinking about those groups, close to 500 students, there are 6 sections of around 80 students each. You're not looking to form those groups just on the basis of, well, I think they'll all get along. Presumably you're then sort of mobilizing that diversity to challenge one another, the viewpoints, the perspectives that everybody is bringing based on different cultural, professional backgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure if I should say that we almost don't want everybody to get along really easily, because we don't all get along easily with everybody in real life, in the real business world. So we create within our 500 students, we have 6 streams, and then those 6 streams are broken down further into study groups of 5 or 6 people in each study group. I mean, I should say that group work is a key element to all of the academics at LBS. We, of course, provide ample opportunity for students to showcase their individual skills and talents and expertise and so on. But every course that students take will have some element of group work within it. And in year 1, that is done in these study groups that they're put into, that they're forced into from the very start. And what we try to do with these study groups, as far as possible, is kind of create a mini stream, a microcosm of the class, all kind of within these 5 or 6 people, so that we will not have people from the same backgrounds, the same nationalities, the same educational experience in one group. It's not unusual for an American woman who has worked in consulting to find herself in a study group with no other native English speakers, whose educational backgrounds range from maths to humanities to law, and their professional experience from a UK military officer to somebody who has trekked the Sahara Desert to somebody who's worked in not-for-profit. We intentionally create study groups where there is diversity and where collaboration is something that they have to really learn to do. I mean, collaboration is, it's another buzzword, isn't it? Like, we all need to do it. We all need to be good at it. And it is amazing when it works really well, but it's also pretty tough. So we create these study groups that are the opposite of an echo chamber, whatever the opposite of that is, because, as I say, in real life, we don't live and work in echo chambers. So we want to put that challenge out there so that students have to listen to different perspectives, as well as having the opportunity to listen to different perspectives, to know that, well, on our finance project, when I worked in a company in Sri Lanka, this is how my company would have approached it, which would be very different from somebody whose company in Botswana approached maybe a similar problem, but in an entirely different way. And we use that experience to get amazing outcomes. It's hard, it can be really hard. We support students, we provide soft skills workshops, we provide leadership and coaching, both individually and for the study groups, so that we don't just throw them into it and leave them to it. We provide support, but we also do expect our students to learn from this themselves. And it's one of the things towards the end of the program that the students will talk about the most, is often how challenging that was, but also how rewarding it really was to be successful through that really tricky collaboration.
Yes, if I was to talk to an individual as they arrived in the program in August, all of those hard skills, the finance analytics, those kind of core technical skills that they're developing, but it strikes me, there's this sort of 2-year journey of self-discovery, a leadership path that's embedded in all of that. What do they often reflect on 2 years later as they look back and think, wow, that was something that emerged, that I discovered about myself, or that really was very striking in terms of the experience that they've had?
So if we get it right, then at the end of the 2 years, they look back and they understand that the leadership skills training that we give right at the outset really did identify the strengths, the development points, and what individual students needed to be successful throughout their journey. That one of the core business fundamental courses that they kick off with is our global leadership assessment for managers, called GLAM for short, because it's a bit of a mouthful, which is delivered allowing students to look at themselves as individuals and who are they, what are their values, where are they very strong, where do they have room for development. And that then leads into our leadership launch, which is our professional skills program, which allows students to take further courses on an individual basis, looking at what do they really need as an individual to develop into the leader that we want them and that they want to become. So those go on throughout year one. We have coaching sessions available for students throughout both year one and year two. And then we cap it all off with our capstone program at the very end, where students do a reflective piece, again, with a one-to-one coaching session on where were they 2 years ago and where are they now. And as I say, if we get this right, then they know where they are, they know that they've done well, that they've been successful, but we also equip them then with where else do you need to go? They said the 2-year journey is not the end. We hope to equip them with the knowledge and the experience that they can then continue to go on and be successful in what they're going on to do.
Right. To come full circle, the MBA program at LBS, as you look at where it is now and where you want to go over the next 3-5 years, how do you think that the program will continue to evolve, perhaps even reflecting on a pandemic over the last 2 years and what that's brought to light?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of a cliche to say it has provided us with a huge opportunity to look at what we do. Like probably every other business and company in the world, we had to change pretty much overnight. We had to go from delivering face-to-face learning to thousands of students to online learning, which we had never done before, within a week. And we did it. It was possibly a little bit painful at times, but we showed what we can do. And I think that has been a massive learning for us, is that we can change and we can change quickly and we can develop when we need to. I think what we need to do now, and which we've already started doing now through some of the projects like the navigational journeys, we need to change when we want to now. The bad side of the pandemic is we had no choice, we had to change. We now need to use the learnings we've had, that we can make quick decisions, we can pivot, we can introduce new initiatives. So we need to be really focused on, well, what are those new initiatives that we really need to be focusing on? And one of those that has come out are these navigational journeys on how can we signpost and support our students to really make sure that this once in a lifetime opportunity for them is the best it can possibly be. I think one of the other learnings, I guess, from the pandemic, or one of the losses that we had during the pandemic, was that loss of connection and belonging that we weren't able to do in what is the most natural way to all of us. And I think, again, what that's reinforced is how important that is to LBS. We genuinely talk about how community is everything here at the school, but that's because it really is. And we've we've recognized even more that the importance of creating a community and a belonging and a place where students can feel safe and secure to experiment, to learn and to develop is critical for them having a successful MBA and setting them up to be successful in the longer term as well.
Well, Helen, thank you for sharing your LBS community with such warmth, with such thoughtfulness. For our viewers, I think that's a tremendous opportunity to get to know you better. Of course, next steps reaching out to David and his admissions team. That's also part of the festival. But we were delighted to have you with us.
Oh, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you again, Matt.